Maybe you have a New Year's resolution, or maybe you just want to save some money because the thought of spending $20 on a breakfast burrito makes you want to crawl into a hole and never leave. Either way, I got you. We're doing a sit-up today. No, we're not. No, I'm just gonna scoot. Now, I just want to preface by saying that this recipe can be as easy or as hard as you want it to be. It is extremely customizable. If you don't want to chop any vegetables, then use frozen ones. And if you don't want to make fresh sausage, just use frozen ones. And if you don't want to use any fresh bacon, then just use air. Either way, there is literally only one thing in this entire recipe that you cannot change. But we'll get to that. Now, the first thing we're going to work on is our bacon. It is super easy to do, and I would highly recommend not switching it out for air. All you need is about a pound. I've got 1.5 pounds of thick cut bacon, but a pound is good. And we are just going to lay each piece of bacon out on our baking sheet nice and evenly. You want to avoid overlap if possible, but if you have some overlap, it's not the end of the world. It's just not going to get as crispy, but it will still cook. And now that this is laid out nice and even, we're just going to place this into a cold oven and then turn it to 400 degrees. That way it can slowly come up to temperature and help our bacon fat render out a little bit better. And then we're just gonna let that cook for about 20 minutes, but it really depends on how thick your bacon is. I would definitely start checking up on it around that 15-minute mark. Now, while we wait for that bacon to cook, we're gonna start prepping our veggies. And the first thing we're gonna do, chop up our green onions. Now, most people will tell you, oh, you should put chives inside your breakfast burrito. It's so great, or put them on your eggs. And to that I say, chives are expensive. And you know what's darn close? Green onions. So, green onions it is. And now we can just move those to the side, ignoring the ones that definitely hit the floor. And now we can cut up our potatoes. You thought I was gonna juggle, didn't you? Well, I can't. The first thing you're gonna wanna do, just cut off a nice little base, so that way instead of rocking around, it sits nice and flush. Then, you're just gonna take your knife, carefully drag it through, and you're thinking about the width of like a French fry. That's about what you want, like a good quality French fry. Not a shoestring fry, but like, think about like, who has thicker French fries? Wendy's. Wendy's has thicker fries. Think about it like a Wendy's fry. And then from there, just stack up as many as you feel comfortable. If you can do 2 at a time, that's fine. If you need to do 1 at a time, also fine. Try to cut these as symmetrically as possible, but most importantly, don't cut off your fingertips. They should all be roughly the same size. Then we can just very carefully move these over to a sheet tray. Next up, we have a couple bell peppers. I'm using a red and green bell pepper, but by all means, if you just want to use a green one or 2 green ones, that's totally fine with me. Green ones are technically speaking cheaper, so more power to you. Once we've got that all hollowed and cored out, we're just gonna go ahead and cut this into long strips, roughly about the same size as your potatoes, but it doesn't have to be the same size because they're gonna cook differently. But from a mouthfeel standpoint, in your burrito, I recommend going with a similar size. And once we have those strips nicely made up, nicely-ish, we're just gonna go ahead and cut those into that nice uniform-ish dice. And don't forget the top half and the butt, because those are still absolutely 100% useful. Don't toss them out. And then we'll just scoot that on top of our potatoes. Then we can quickly do the same thing with a red bell pepper. Nothing different here, we're just literally the same thing. And finally, the last bit of our produce is a couple of yellow onions. Now, my yellow onions are on the smaller side, so I decided to go with 2, but if you had 1 large yellow onion, which we've all seen here before, feel free to just do 1. And just go ahead and cut all the way around the sun here, and we're gonna go ahead and roughly chop it into similar sized pieces as our peppers. And now that our produce is all nicely chopped up, we're just gonna hit it with a drizzle of olive oil. And you can be fairly generous here because we've got quite a bit of vegetables here. Then a very generous sprinkle of salt because potatoes can take it, followed by a very good amount of black pepper, some garlic powder, and some smoked paprika. And then from here, you're just gonna use your bench scraper, or you can use your hands or a spoon, or really whatever utensil you would like. And we're just gonna mix this and fold this all together. And be careful because it's pretty full. It's going everywhere. Arguably, you could do this in a bowl prior to putting it on the sheet tray, but then you're using another thing that you've got to wash, so you know my thoughts on that. And now that those are nicely mixed, we're just gonna go ahead and cover it up with some tin foil. That was unnecessary. And now this is gonna go in our 400-degree oven for 30 minutes, covered, and uncover it, cook for another 20 to 30 minutes. And now that my bacon has finished cooking, I'm just gonna carefully move it over to my cutting board so that way I can roughly chop it up, because there's nothing sadder than biting into a burrito and pulling out all of the bacon. Same rule applies for burgers. It's just pure disappointment. Problem solved. So freaking good. Now we can just move all this to a paper towel lined bowl to help remove some of that excess grease. I lied to you. Don't make 10 pieces of bacon. Make like 12, because I've already eaten like a piece and a half. Now for your sausage, there's absolutely nothing wrong with using pre-made. In fact, one of my favorite things is making fried rice with those pre-made sausage cooked patty disc things. Like, they're just great. And so if you want to spend a little bit more and ease a little bit of the work, go for it. But if you want to have a little more control, save a little bit of money, then we're gonna make our sausage from scratch. Starting with a pound of ground pork, I'm using 92.8, meaning it's 92% lean and 8% fat. Really, that's more because of the fact that that's what my store had. Let's grate in a couple cloves of fresh garlic, followed by about a teaspoon of dried thyme, a teaspoon of dried sage, 2 teaspoons of fennel seeds. What is that noise outside? What is happening? A nice pinch of salt, some black pepper, and 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. Now, by no means do you have to do this by hand, but I'm just gonna tell you right now, it is significantly easier if you just do it by hand. So, glove up, and we're just gonna crush and mix our pork. And because we're making a sausage, you do wanna work it quite a bit. And I'm gonna set this aside and let it rest while we finish everything else. Now for our eggs, we are cracking 18 of these bad boys into a large bowl. It's a slow process, but not a great start, but a necessary one. And alternatively, you could switch out some of these eggs for egg whites if you wanted to go on a little bit of a healthier end, but I like egg yolks, so I'm doing full eggs. And into this egg mixture, we're gonna add about a 1/3 cup of whole milk. This is just gonna help give it a little bit more volume and a little bit more fluff. And we are not going to season these now because they're going to sit for a minute. The whole thing about like, don't season your eggs before you cook them only applies if you're going to season your eggs and then let them sit for like 5-10 minutes. That's when it becomes an issue. If you're gonna season them and then immediately cook them, totally fine. That's what we're gonna do. But because I'm not gonna cook them like as soon as I finish whisking these, then I'm gonna season them right before. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Beautiful. If you're cooking and following along, then this is your reminder to remove the tin foil from your potatoes. Now the next thing we're gonna be doing is making our sauce, which you can totally just use a pre-made sauce. Like, you don't have to do this. But this sauce I've been making lately is really freaking good. So I would try it. We're going in with a 1/2 cup of mayonnaise. Oh, that went everywhere. Then a 1/2 cup of sour cream, followed by 2 tablespoons of Calabrian chilies, about a tablespoon of sun-dried tomatoes, 2 cloves of garlic, a tablespoon of lime juice, and a nice pinch of salt. Now, if you do not have a stick blender, no worries. You can do this in a regular blender if you want to, but it's a little bit overkill, or you can just chop it all up by hand, which totally doable. It arguably works a little bit better if you chop up the sun-dried tomatoes by hand, because then you get little bits of it. So just food for thought. Oh yeah, freaking magnificent. And by no means do you have to be extra. This is just me being extra. But if you make a lot of sauces, oh my gosh, I cannot recommend enough getting reusable sauce bottles. They are phenomenal. Hands down will make your life so much better, and you will just enjoy making sauces and using sauces so much more. Period. I mean, come on, you can't tell me that this isn't awesome. Now for our cook today, we're only gonna be using 1 pan, just a single non-stick pan, because we want ease and we want convenience. And so, oh, potatoes, hold up. Perfect. Now, like I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, we're going to be using 1 pan, just a single non-stick skillet, because we want ease and convenience. You can absolutely do this in a stainless steel pan or a carbon steel or a cast iron, but today, non-stick. We're gonna go ahead and bring this up to a nice medium and add in a couple tablespoons of nice unsalted butter. And while that's melting and preheating, we're gonna go ahead and salt and pepper our eggs, because again, it doesn't make them all watery, because we're just gonna cook them immediately. But also, like, do what you want. Like, if you want to wait till you're in the middle of cooking them to salt them and pepper them, that's fine. You can do that. Like, do what makes you happy. Now, I'm gonna tell you right now that we should do this in batches. That said, I'm not gonna do this in batches, and it'll be just fine. Make sure our butter is nice and evenly spread, and now we'll just carefully pour in our eggs. Now, because we were cooking such a large batch of eggs, this is gonna be a very slow process, but a very consistent process, because all we're gonna do is we're gonna slowly pull our spatula right across, pull it across again, and we're just gonna continue to do this until our eggs are nice and fully cooked. Because as you can see, you can already see a little bit, we're getting those cooked ribbons, and those ribbons are just gonna start piling up slowly as we pull and push. Actually, we're not pushing. As we pull our eggs. This will prevent them from burning and get us nice ribbony eggs. Now after about 4 minutes, our eggs are mostly fully cooked. There's a very small amount of egg that is still a little bit runny, but that's okay because we're gonna move it back into our bowl and it's just gonna continue to carry over cook until it's all perfectly cooked. And don't worry if you had any leftover egg that was on the inside of your bowl. It's not a big deal because that heat from this egg that we did cook is going to end up just cooking that thin layer that's still in our bowl. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and quickly scrape all that little bits of egg residue out before we cook our sausage. Now we can turn our heat up to a nice medium high. We're gonna add in a little bit of that bacon fat from earlier just to help get us started. And then we'll just carefully slide in our sausage. Now what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna flatten this out as much as possible. That way we can get maximum contact and maximum searage in the quickest amount of time. You're also gonna want a fresh bowl for this one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with someone you love. It's totally free and it helps support the channel so that way I can continue to bring you new recipes and new videos every week. So please. Now after a few minutes, our first side is nice and seared, and we can go ahead and start to flip and break it all up. It's actually arguably a little bit burnt, but that's okay because it's still gonna taste good. Now the size that we break this up into is really more of a personal preference. If you like large chunks of sausage in your burrito, then leave them large. But if you like smaller bits, then this is the time to break it down as small as you like. And once that's all broken down and more importantly fully cooked, we can go ahead and remove. I spilled. Oh, I made a mess. Oh, that's hot. That's still hot. I don't know why I thought touching that was not gonna be hot. Okay, I thought I was gonna make it through this whole video without hurting myself or making a fool of myself. Not this one, but come back next week to find out if I can. And now for the one non-negotiable must-have on any meal prep breakfast burrito, high-quality, giant burrito tortillas. And when I'm talking big, I mean big. Like anything under 12 inches is too small. Because if you go down to a tortilla that's about 10 inches wide, then you end up with a burrito that is disproportionate tortilla to filling because you just can't wrap it all in, plain and simple. And if you get ones that aren't a great quality, then what's gonna end up happening is the second that you roll it together, it's going to tear and split, and then your burrito just turns into a burrito bowl, which is still good, but not what you intended. So if you can, go to a Mexican market and find some that are fresh made there, or my favorite hack is just go to your local Mexican taqueria and just ask them, like either where they get them or if you can just buy them directly from them, because odds are they're gonna sell them to you. So it's worth it, trust me. Now to assemble your burritos, I would recommend laying out all 10 of your tortillas and then building them all at the same time. That way you know for a fact that you have everything evenly divided and you don't end up with like 9 burritos and then one sad tortilla with a little bit of filling. You know what I mean? So if you do them all at the same time, it helps to ensure that you're getting a nice even distribution. You could also weigh them, but I don't. Now the best way to ensure you have a pliable tortilla is to make sure that it is warm. Now chances are your oven is still warm, even though you turned it off earlier, because you didn't forget, because that's hazardous. But you turned it off earlier, but it's still warm. So what I'd recommend, just go lay it on the grate, give it 30, 40 seconds till it's nice and warm, and pull it out. Now with your warm tortilla, we can assemble. Now we'll start by scooping on a bed of our potatoes, onions, and peppers. Don't be shy here because this is where a lot of our volume is gonna come from. Then we can go on with our eggs, follow that up with some of our bacon bits, and our crumbly sausage, of course. Now a nice sprinkle of Monterey Jack. And yes, I am using pre-shredded cheese because I still can't find my box grater. Then a nice drizzle of our special sauce, and then we'll finish with some imitation chives. And now to fold this all together, it is much easier than you think. We're gonna start by making sure all of our fillings are nice and centered. Then we'll just take the sides, push them together, and flatten it out. Now from here, you're gonna take your thumbs, sweep them underneath the back of your tortilla, and fold it all over. From here, just make sure your tortilla is nice and lined up straight. Take this top end, squish it down, and we're just gonna roll it all together. Like this. Now once your burrito is nicely rolled, we're just gonna go ahead and seal it on a hot pan. So our burrito, our seam side down, and we're just gonna hold it there and let it crisp up just so that way it holds together. I'm gonna do this back on the stove. I just didn't wanna move everything back over here just to do that, so that's what you do. And now that this is nice and sealed, we can go ahead and wrap it. Starting with a piece of parchment paper. Now you're gonna want your parchment paper about 2 burritos in length and no more than 2 burritos in width. This is the part that makes it a little bit harder. So if you can keep it shorter, keep it shorter. Start by pulling the top and bottom of your parchment paper together, making sure they line up evenly at the top. Then we're just gonna fold down a 1/2 inch, and then another 1/2 inch, and then another 1/2 inch, all the way until we get down to our burrito. Making sure the creases are nice and tight and it's folded nice and flat. Now from here, we're gonna take the ends of our parchment paper and fold them underneath, inside, between the burrito and the bottom layer of parchment. Start by folding one end down, and then carefully, using your fingers, go ahead and fold inside and shove inside itself. Sounds weird, but it works. Then we're just gonna rotate and repeat with the other side. And then from there, your burrito should be nicely wrapped. And then just repeat that process over and over and over again. But at the end, you'll be left with this. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I really hope that you learned something. You can find the full recipe with storage and reheating options down below. Here's a photo of my wife and I on our first date, and I'll see you next week.